talk with any of my friends, or even my mother, they will easily tell you that I have a tendency to overanalyze things, that perhaps I look for details that don't exist and concoct conspiracy theories based upon my ability to read into dilemmas. Of course, the difference between my friends and my mother is that my friends will generally go along with my theories, and my mother will provide a much-needed reality check. One such theory that I have been recently concocting is that there is a secular Christmas song that sounds very happy and full of energy, but has dark undertones. To me, it stands out because the majority of the commercial Christmas songs deal with joy and happiness, and some deal with family and traditions. But We Need a Little Christmas by Johnny Mathis, to me, seems like it deals with nostalgia and frustration and the busyness of life. Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to sing it, but please listen to these lyrics. Haul out the holly, put up the tree before my spirit falls again. Fill up the stocking, I may be rushing things, but deck the halls again now. For we need a little Christmas right this very minute. Candles in the window, carols at the spinet. Yes, we need a little Christmas right this very minute. Hasn't snowed a single flurry, but Santa dear, we're in a hurry. And then the verse that really gets me is, for I have grown a little leaner, grown a little colder, grown a little sadder, grown a little older. And I need a little angel sitting on my shoulder. I need a little Christmas now. It seems to me that Johnny Mathis is suggesting that celebrating Christmas is an antidote to the nostalgia and frustration that Christmas forces us to recall. Yesterday afternoon, I was returning here to Bethlehem from Philadelphia after visiting some friends, and WHYY, the Philadelphia NPR affiliate, was playing stories that authors have contributed from past years about Christmas. There were all kinds of stories. Happy ones that remind us of Charlie Brown, bittersweet ones that remind us of Christmas at Walton's Mountain, humorous ones like author David Sedaris' account of the time he went working as a Macy's elf. But the ones that really struck a chord were the ones that were able to extract some element of universal truth. Stories like Johnny Mathis' song. Excitedly, we gather here to celebrate Christmas. Many of us have very special and cherished traditions from the past, from years past, and many of us are undertaking new traditions because of new stages of life we find ourselves in. For example, today is the first time in my life that I did not wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning on my family's home, but at the same time, I am overjoyed to celebrate Christmas morning with you all. Christmas is a holiday overflowing with nostalgia. But the reminder of nostalgia is that we are called to look forward, ever forward, with faith, love, and hope. 1 year ago today, it was Christmas. 1 year ago today, we celebrated the birth of the Christ child. Since last Christmas, it seems a century's worth of things have transpired. Sadly, those things that immediately come to mind, for me, have to deal with destructive and alienating violence and straw that breaks the camel's back burdens. 2011 has been an unrelenting year. It was the year that Osama bin Laden was captured. It was the year that political differences have become a sad, depressing game. It was the year that our sisters and brothers in North Africa and the Middle East have toppled many of their oppressive governments. It was the year that natural disasters have affected much of the world. 2011 has become the year that compels many people to hold their breath high in their chest. The year that destructive and alienating stress has nearly overwhelmed us and shaken our lives and our very relationships with God and one another. It seems that more and more people have been proclaiming that awful every person for themselves with reckless abandon. Wow. A lot has happened since last Christmas, And this perpetual Advent, this constant preparation and waiting and persevering and believing is getting very old. And that triune faith, hope, and love that we dwell in becomes more and more of a challenge. Perhaps this is why we cling to those nostalgic feelings of Christmases past, hoping for something familiar, something that we can understand. Being a seminary student is kind of like going to church every day, and yes, it is as good as it sounds. Every day we discuss the assurance that we are children of God, and how we are to respond to that reality. For me, it is a very strange, even great intention that this implies. We, the people, are children of the Almighty God, but still so much makes us feel like Atlas, holding the world on our shoulders on a journey up a mountain. Our sisters and brothers in East Asia are no strangers to this feeling, having been subjects of colonial powers for centuries. There is a Korean Methodist theologian who was born in North Korea shortly before the Korean War named Andrew Park. A central component of his theology is the concept of Han, which he describes as the hardened heart that is grieved by oppression and injustice. It is collapsed pain of the heart due to interpersonal, social, political, economic, and cultural oppression and repression. The reality of Han is the emotional, rational, and physical suffering of pain rooted in the anguish of the victim. Han is frustrated hope. Hope is at the core of every human's existence, and it is how we respond to God. We hope and we live. But when the stress of this world, that core-shaking, heart-hardening, shallow-breathing stress makes us feel like Atlas in a futile task, our hope is frustrated. But this is Christmas. It is the time of year when our rituals seem to assume our hopefulness, despite all the circumstances of the world. For many of us, the joyful songs played out on the street, in our cars, and on our stereos can seem like macabre juxtapositions compared to the anxiety of our hearts. Many of our traditions have a purpose, though. We do them because they bring a certain peaceful joy. How wonderful it is to go caroling, to drink hot chocolate and eat cookies. How wonderful it is to give special gifts to those whom we love. How wonderful it is to receive a Christmas card from a friend that we've been missing. And that's kind of what our scripture from Isaiah is like today. It is like a Christmas card from God. Now for my corny attempt here, a Christmas card. I imagine if God wrote us a Christmas card, it might say something like this. My dear child, I know that you have been feeling overwhelmed. Like your ancestors in Jerusalem, you may feel exiled, violently or silently separated from the ones you love. I know that you are feeling the sin of the world, the pain, the alienation, the anguish, the non-stop pressing onward, despite your unsure footing. My faithful child, I do not want your heart to be troubled. The outside world demands that you get into the holiday spirit as it asks you to buy things. But I am calling you to live a life of spirit. My hopeful child, though I desire to be in a relationship with you every second of every minute of every day, today, the Christ Mass, the veil between myself, the saints who have already come home, and you no doubtedly feels thinner. My hope for you, my child, is that Christ is born within you today. You were sold into slavery, into the grips of Satan, because of the evil and dehumanizing forces of the earth. But today, if Christ is born in your heart, I am buying you back for nothing, redeeming you and making you holy, because you belong to me in the first place. My lovely child, believe in me, trust in me, know that wherever you are, I am with you. This is not mere sentimentality, but a reality. that if Christ lives in you, you live in me, and you are called to hope. I desire that you have the most blessed and joyful Christmas. Sisters and brothers, we know how easy it is for our hope to be frustrated by the burdens of the world. Like the people of Jerusalem in exile, hope seemed like an abstraction. But the joy of Christmas, the joy of Christ being born in our hearts, is not that God calls us out of exile to our comfortable homes, but that God proclaims exile to be the abstraction. Our God reigns. And if we are true to the people that God calls us to be, no longer must we bear the haunt of the world. No longer must we store the pain within our hearts. No longer must nostalgia cripple us, because we are the people of God, called to look forward in faith, love, and hope.